What is your favorite American Chinese food appetizer? I have to admit, I sometimes crave some crispy, oily spring rolls, but for me, it's a dim sum item, quite different from the appetizer egg rolls many Americans get at their local Chinese takeout places. What is egg roll then? Is it Chinese food? Who quote unquote invented it? We will find out in today's episode. Hi, I'm Christy, and this is the American Chinese Food Show. Egg rolls. You all have probably tried it. A deep fried appetizer with a thick, bubbly, crispy skin in American Chinese restaurants. It usually is part of a food platter that comes with egg rolls and fried rice. Is it a Chinese dish? Yes, and maybe no. There is a similar dish in China, spring roll. Spring roll, however, has a history that goes all the way back to the Eastern Jin dynasty in about the year 400. Its first documentation is in the form of a platter called the spring platter to celebrate the arrival of spring. People used a batter to make a thin pancake and put it on a platter along with turnip and bean sprouts. In the Yun dynasty around the year 1300, records shows people put walnuts, pine nuts, ginkgo nuts, chestnuts, lotus seeds, lotus roots, all minced up with garlic, scallion, and chopped lamb meat on these pancakes, rolled and deep fried them. In the Qing dynasty, from the 1600s to 1912, spring rolls became even more diverse. You can add meat like ham and chicken, or vegetables that are in season, or make them sweet with walnuts and sugar. It's even part of the Manchu Han imperial feast. So, how do you go from the 1600-year-old spring roll to American egg roll? Two chefs in New York both claimed they were the people that made American egg roll happen in the 1920s. Lum Fong, the owner of Lum Fong restaurants, and Henry Low, chef of the Port Arthur restaurant in Chinatown. Lum Fong advertised on newspapers many times making the claim. Here in 1941 on the Daily News, he said, "I introduced egg rolls 20 years ago to New York. Now I want you to try my walnut shrimp rolls. They're really delicious." To promote his new walnut shrimp rolls, he even got the United Press news agency to write sort of like a marketing piece claiming Lum introduced the egg roll in 1925. Puttering around in the kitchen whence emanated the first American-made egg rolls, the delicacy that gave the chop suey chow mein industry the shot in the arm that has produced so many hundreds of places now dedicated to Chinese food. Even the New York Times at Lum Fong's obituary said he was credited with having popularized egg and shrimp roll in his country. A piece by the news syndication service NEA was published in newspapers all over the country in 1934. The picture included is a photo of a dish with 4 egg rolls with the caption, "Prepared by Lum Fong for Bamberger's, Newark, New Jersey, a department store chain." We don't know the reason why Lum Fong was there, but there is a recipe on how he made the egg rolls. Ingredients include flour, water chestnut flour, eggs, fresh or canned shrimp, bamboo shoots, and roast pork. And this is how you make the egg roll. You mix the flour and water chestnut flour with water, add lightly beaten eggs and mix, heat an iron frying pan and pour in enough batter to completely cover the bottom of the pan. Fry until whitish, remove to a smooth surface, bake batter into these thin unbrowned pancakes. After you add the filling in each pancake and roll up like a jelly roll, deep fry and cook until brown. In 1938, 4 years after this article, Henry Low published his cookbook called Cook at Home in Chinese. The first recipe under the hot savories chapter is egg roll. His recipe was largely similar to the one Lum Fong provided, with the exception that Low's version includes chopped water chestnut in the filling and using the double frying technique that would result in a drier and crisper skin. Even though Lum published his recipe before Lo, we might find more clues looking at the paragraph Henry Lo specifically wrote at the end of his egg roll recipe. The author of this book, about 30 years ago, that would be like 1908, discovered that by using Chinese water chestnut flour in making a dough, the taste was vastly improved and it did not tend to burn so easily or quickly as other doughs in which ordinary flour was used. Taking an old Chinese dish, the author further concocted a number of ingredients as a mixture to be wrapped in this new dough, which he named egg roll. Aha! This is a very important distinction from what Lum Fong was claiming. For traditional Chinese spring roll, the skin is made of just flour, water, and salt. The main difference in egg rolls is that the batter uses not only eggs, hence the name egg roll I would imagine, but also water chestnut flour. Water chestnut flour is something many Chinese people have in their pantry, but it doesn't really get used that often at a home kitchen. I have a box somewhere for years. Today it's mostly used for steamed cake and pudding, like water chestnut pudding. You can get it at dim sum places. You will also eat it during the Lunar New Year. Take a look at this dictionary from 1887 that teaches overseas Chinese common words in English. Under the produce section, we have potato flour, pea flour, caltrop flour, lily root flour, and water chestnut flour. Chinese chefs always had access to different types of flour, even in the gold mining times in the United States. Interesting to note, some of them were used as starch to stiffen fabrics for laundry purposes too. So how was water chestnut flour used in the kitchen back then? First, as a thickener. The first time it was mentioned in a recipe in American publications was 1913 in Harper's Bazaar in the dish pineapple fish. Take 1 tablespoonful of water chestnut, which is used in China the same as cornstarch or flour for thickening soups, gravies, etc. Then in 1916 for the dish pineapple chicken, when all is heated, thicken with the water chestnut flour and serve with rice. Water chestnut flour was also used for cakes even over 100 years ago. There is one recipe that uses it in the first English cookbook for Chinese food written by a Chinese. The Chinese Cookbook by Shu Wong Chen, published in 1917. The first time water chestnut flour is mentioned to be used in a deep fry dish, at least in America, is that 1934 egg roll recipe provided by Lum Fong. So maybe both Lum Fong and Henry Lo were right. Lum Fong never claimed he invented the egg roll. He indeed helped make egg rolls popular with his superb business acumen. Lum Fong was one of the hottest restaurants in New York in the 30s and 40s. You have celebrity sightings there all the time. It's not hard to imagine dishes served there would become trendy. Henry Lo, on the other hand, was a chef, not a businessman. He claimed to be the person who started using water chestnut flour in the batter for deep fried dishes. If it is true, that is no less a contribution to the culinary world than introducing egg rolls to the United States. Because there are so many fried dishes today in an American Chinese restaurant that still use water chestnut flour. Maybe we all have Henry Lo to thank for that. That's it for today's episode. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel. See you soon.